think we are good to get started, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited to be hosting this webinar today, Convert Your Customers into Hires, specifically talking about hiring best practices in the fitness industry. So my name is Natalie Morgan. I am the Director of HR at CareerPlug, and I'm going to facilitate our discussion with our amazing panelists today. Before I introduce them, just a few housekeeping items. This is a webinar, so everyone is on mute just so we can minimize that background noise. And we are recording this so we can provide the recording to you along with the deck afterwards as a resource. We're going to save time for some Q&A at the end. So if you do have questions, you can use that Q&A feature on Zoom throughout, or we'll prompt you at the end too and get those questions answered. So without further ado, let me introduce our panelists here. So all of them introduce themselves actually. Lauren, let's start with you. Let's learn a little bit about who you are.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Lauren McAlister, and I am a member of the MindBody content marketing team. And what that means is I work with a really wonderful group of individuals that's dedicated to providing really great educational resources for our customers in the fitness, wellness, and beauty industries as well. And we provide best practices on a variety of topics, everything from staff management, which we're going to be talking about today, to retention, to building a virtual offering in the midst of COVID. And I'm also a business owner. So my husband and I own a fitness studio in San Luis Obispo, California. And so what that means is I'm well-versed in hiring for a small business and also living and pivoting in this crazy world that we are living in right now. So I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lauren. Scott, let's learn about you.
Hi, guys. My name is Scott Kinworthy. I currently work for F45 HQ. My current title is the Director of the F45 Academy. It's an online education portal. We cover everything from sort of the second you hire, buy your franchise to getting open, what that onboarding process looks like, as well as continued education for membership advisors, studio managers, head trainers, and trainers to always be upskilling our entire network. And I was one of the first franchisees here in America about 5 years ago, and I currently own 3 F45s in Las Vegas. And like Lauren, I know quite a bit about hiring and doing our best to hire the best people possible here in Las Vegas and getting through these challenging times with COVID. And CareerPlug's been great for that. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Scott. And of course, my colleague at CareerPlug, Brad, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for allowing me to join the call today. Obviously, my name is Brad Pilot, and that picture of me, we're going to call pre-COVID. Pre-COVID picture. However, I've been working at CareerPlug now for many years. Prior to CareerPlug, though, I was in the fitness industry for almost 2 decades. I was a past client of CareerPlug as well. I was with Lifestyle Family Fitness and their 55 locations. I was their VP of corporate sales. And prior to that, I was with Gold's Gym International in a similar role. So I have experience from being an ex-client and then obviously working at CareerPlug for many years as well.
Thank you. No, we're really excited to have this group together. So let's dive in. Agenda for this call today. I want to start just by talking about state of fitness, what's going on right now, what's going on this year. Dive into some fitness industry benchmarks that we've gathered from some data at CareerPlug, looking at our fitness clients. And then talk about employment branding and recruiting best practices, really with the goal of, building that pipeline of quality hires, tying back to our overall topic, how do you draw from your current community and customer base? And then, like I mentioned, we'll do a Q&A at the end. So let's start just by talking about what's going on in the fitness industry. Obviously, COVID-19 has had a major impact on fitness. So I'd like to get some perspective on the current state and how that has impacted hiring. Scott, I'd love to start with you and F45. Could you talk a little bit about what changes you've had to make as a result of COVID, kind of how it's impacted your business?
Sure, absolutely. F45 is a team training environment in person in studios. And when, studios were required to start shutting down based on government mandates across the globe, F45 very quickly had to put their entire business online, and we developed a couple of new products. One would be F45 Live, where we would actually do body weight boot camps via Zoom, up to sometimes 500 people in some of those Zooms. We developed an outdoor boot camp called Track with some really amazing programming. And we actually, when we got back into the studio during the COVID situation, we created a product where someone can come in without touching anyone or anyone else's equipment and stay in one spot and do their F45 workout. As well as something called F45 Ultimate, where our timing breaks were much longer and our TV communication really encouraging people and directing people to wipe down equipment and keep their distance and those sort of things. And it's really helped save our business. And I would say 99% of every single studio that was open pre-COVID is reopening at this point, and it's been great. As well as we developed a train at home program on our F45 Challenge platform, which is just a nutrition platform up to this point. And if you're a member at F45, the train at home option is free. So the same great workout you would get in a studio, you can actually get at home on your own app.
Excellent. Yeah, it's interesting to hear how creative all businesses are getting, but like in fitness too, especially with virtual options, right? How about? Oh yeah, go ahead.
All I was going to say was what I think is really important is to look at the situation as an opportunity. Like, how can you shift your business to potentially provide even more value in a time and in a state where we need more brands out there really looking at it at this perspective. And then post-COVID, you'll have these new products that can potentially go a lot farther than you were going to before.
Yeah, exactly. Brad, I'm interested, since you work with so many of our fitness brands at CareerPlug, what are you seeing right now as the impact this year?
Definitely, and what I see obviously is from more of the recruiting and hiring standpoint, since that's our primary focus. But for those facilities that are open, which is obviously based on state, and a lot of more states are opening, their situation is often contingent on where they are in reopening. So there's a lot of facilities that were in a crunch to rehire employees that were either furloughed or let go. And with hiring of new staff, oftentimes we hear that applicant flow has been slightly lower for the industry. And I know we're going to go into more information on that, but the primary drivers being higher unemployment payments, as well as perceived applicant concerns around health and safety from the thought of having to interact with members, and how a quote safe facility would be from an employment standpoint. I know that's something that Lauren's going to touch on in a couple slides as well.
Great. Yeah, Lauren, let's go over to you, because you have an interesting perspective as both someone at MindBody who works with all these fitness brands and as a studio owner yourself. So what comes up for you is what's going on with fitness right now?
Sure. Well, from a MindBody perspective, we have access to some really fantastic research, and it's probably not surprising to say that there's this massive, move to virtual. We did some research in 2019, and only 7% of consumers were using live stream as an option for fitness. And during COVID-19, that's skyrocketed to over 80%. So people are engaging with virtual offerings. Now, from a hiring perspective, that's going to potentially change things for people. Are you hiring for that in-studio experience? Are you hiring for just a virtual experience now? Are you not necessarily tied to your location and you could hire from anywhere? Or are you looking for people that need to be good at both? So that's definitely something that we're seeing, sort of to Scott's point, this sort of hybrid business model of having to offer in person if you're able to reopen, but also having to offer virtual and or outdoor classes, again, depending on your location and what's available to you. But yeah, we're really seeing this huge shift, and the brands that are stepping up are the ones that are pivoting quickly. And I think the next slide has kind of an interesting stat, which I think also relates to what's going on in hiring as well. So this stat was taken, again, or this data was gathered in the middle of COVID. So unfortunately, we were talking about this right before we jumped on the call, because there's sort of an unfortunate and fortunate side of things here. So 46% of consumers are saying that their mental wellness is worse now than it was before COVID-19. Now, I choose to look at this data as an opportunity, because to me, what it shows is that what we do as fitness providers and wellness providers, it's more important than it's ever been before. I like to think of it as, you know, most of our clients might, hopefully, they only go see their doctor maybe every 6 months, right? A lot of our clients are seeing us 3 to 4 times a week. So we have this deep responsibility to really help our clients even more than ever before, and now in a more holistic way. So looking at mental health, and we all know the connection of physical wellness and mental wellness. But I think that's something that when we're hiring, we have to recognize that we need to find people that understand that responsibility and who take that seriously. And we're also seeing from the data that clients are excited to return to their studios again. I think it's that accountability factor, and then the community factor. That's so important. And again, something that's also really important when you're hiring. And if you want to go to the next slide, but just some interesting data here. These are the most important factors for those who are deciding to visit a fitness business again. So not surprisingly, sanitization is the biggie. And then following that is a smaller number of clients in the business, and then potentially changing the physical location to ensure that social distancing requirement is met. So not necessarily specific to hiring, but an interesting stat and something that you need to get your team behind, recognizing how important, cleaning is right now.
And it definitely relates to hiring too, from the standpoint of that's exactly how a potential employee would view things as well. So what is important to a member is likely going to be identically important to an employee, except they're going to have to be in the facility for most of the day. So it's potentially even more important. So this is really great information that you're sharing, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you. Really interesting. So I'm going to transition for a moment and to share some recruiting metrics that we found specifically for the fitness industry. So at CareerPlug, we analyzed like all our clients, over 10,000 companies, more than 10 million applications, and produced this industry specific benchmark report that you might have seen recently. It's up on our resources page on our website. But I wanted to share specifically what we found for the fitness industry that can inform some of the best practices we'll talk about. So the first thing here, this is a chart of applicant sources. So the thing to call out here, so it's showing, the percentage of applicants that came from job boards, career pages, et cetera, to the percentage of hires. Job boards, this is showing, are like abysmally low, like 12% of hires compared with 86% of applicants they generate, right? So you're getting a ton of applicants from them, but the percent of actual hires coming from job boards is not as strong. Where if you keep going over, you'll see careers page, for example, to call this out, overwhelmingly majority of hires, 74% of hires are coming from a careers page, despite bringing in less applicants. So what that means is the majority of hires are probably directly seeking out your careers page. They're familiar with your brand, their current clients already, so are making much more quality applicants and resulting in more hires there.
Interesting enough, on what you were talking about for the job boards, when I'm oftentimes talking to an organization about using CareerPlug, they believe it's so imperative, and it is important though to still be on the major job boards, but Indeed, Facebook Jobs, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and obviously we're on all those, but to the point that you were making with the statistic, Natalie, you don't make many hires from those. It seems so important, but that's not where all the hires are typically coming from. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't hurt to get 11% of your hires from there, but the careers page is so important. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir on this, but your members were customers are oftentimes the best hires. They love your facility, they're passionate about fitness. Before I managed corporate sales, when I was in the industry, I was a general manager of a Gold's Gym, and it was very helpful to have "We are hiring" signs at the front check-in and the locker rooms, and we would do announcements after group exercise classes and even over the intercom. And where would we direct them to apply, or where should you? To your careers page. And I know we're going to talk more about the importance of how to design the careers page a little bit later, but that's a great way, again, to get those members and customers directed to your careers page where you're making most of the hires.
Definitely. No, that's a good call out. A couple more stats I just wanted to pull out specific to fitness. So this is viewed applicant conversion. So people who view your job post compared to who actually apply to your job. So what this is showing is that on average, only 8% of potential fitness job seekers actually apply after viewing that job post, compared to the average we saw across all industries, which is 12%. So this tells us there's a really big opportunity here just to optimize those job posts and connect better with people who are landing on them, so you can build that pipeline up. And we'll talk more about how to do that. And the last thing is time to contact. So this is someone applies, how long does it take for a hiring manager, owner, whoever's making the hire to reach out to them, that first touch. And the fitness industry actually had the greatest time to contact figure in our study, 13.5 days. So it takes almost 2 weeks if someone applies for them to hear anything back, compared to the average across all industries was about 8 days. So a lot of opportunities here. I know, Scott, you had a great metaphor maybe you can share about hires to, or applicants to leads, and how you could view that.
Yeah, sure. Well, the way that we've really tried to look at it recently in the last couple of years is, your employees, your staff, your trainers, everyone in your facility, they are your business. And in the same way that you would really develop ads and respond to a Facebook lead ad, or any particular client that might call, get back to them very quickly to, acquire them as a client, you need to treat great applicants the exact same way. And in some ways, even more. And that goes for how you develop your ad, the way the messaging, the way it looks, as well as the second, great people usually, in my opinion, like you were saying, they go to a careers page. They may not actually go to the job site. They're aware of your brand, or great people, particularly in fitness. You'll go take a class and be like, oh, well, that person is amazing. I would love for them to come work for me. Or you'll hear about someone that's amazing. You'll have to reach out to them. So great people don't last long. Someone really amazing probably isn't going to last 13.5 days. They're going to have a job within 3 days if they're amazing. So when you get a lead of a particular a trainer or a staff member, that's something you need to reach out to them very quickly if they reach your criteria, and get them to do an interview quickly.
Exactly.
That's a huge point. And not to mention that although we say the greatest time to contact, it's really the worst. So the industry as a whole is not doing a good job of reaching out to their applicants quickly. And Scott, you make really great points there. For those that are clients on the call, obviously you have the ability to, in our system, what's called a fast track process, where the system can see how someone applied and how they answered their application questions. And then the system can automatically invite them to the next stage in the hiring process, which is an assessment or assessments for that particular position. So however you can use your current systems if you're not using CareerPlug, but figuring out a way to prioritize, as Scott said, and quickly act on those applicants, because absolutely your best trainers, your best salespeople, your best group exercise folks, they're not waiting 2 weeks to hear from someone. And Natalie, I made a mistake. I thought I could answer a question by typing, but Rodney Farmer had asked the question from an earlier slide, and I can't type the response, so I'll answer it real quickly. He had asked if, when pulling an application or resume from CareerPlug, are we able to see if the applicant applied from a job board or our careers page? And a quick answer for that, yes, it tracks and tells you exactly where they came from. That should be the case no matter what job board you're going on. You should be able to tell if you're using CareerPlug or not, if they came from Indeed versus Facebook or versus your careers page. And if you are using CareerPlug, you can definitely see that. So.
Great, thanks for catching that question.
Sorry for clicking the wrong button though. I clicked the wrong one, so.
No worries, we're all in this together. So kind of just to summarize those report findings before we continue to dig into action items for your business. Ensuring high quality job postings, focus on marketing jobs to customers, and contact applicants sooner are really the takeaways that we found would benefit the fitness industry most from those benchmarks in our report. So let's go start talking about some of those. And a big one is just employer branding. So Scott, I'm showing off F45 here. So I'm gonna ask you first, what have you found to be most successful in just building your employer brand?
I think everything being synonymous, you know, at F45, obviously our philosophy is team training is life changing. And as much as you're building a gym and you're there to provide fitness, you're really building a community. And as much as you can have synonymous branding and a feeling between your market facing and even your job postings, and really clear messaging. Like I said before, like, you know, when you're developing an ad for member acquisition, people put a lot of time into those ads, work with social media companies to stay on top of the ads and change them if need be. I would say that you need to have a similar level of diligence with your ads to particular applicants who are going to be the face of your business.
Definitely. Lauren, how about from your perspective, how do you manage your employer brand at your studio?
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of what Scott just said, because I do agree, and it needs to be cohesive, of course. One thing though that I think a lot of businesses do is similar to what we were saying about sort of that sales process. There's so much focus on the client, you know, making sure that you're reaching out to the client as soon as possible, and then forgetting to reach out to this fantastic trainer that's just applied. Similar in this instance, I think there's so much focus on that client-facing brand that sometimes we forget how important it is to show up and showcase our employer brand. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of really taking time to really sit down and figure out who you want to attract to be an instructor at your business, to be at the front desk of your business, because those are the people that are going to set the stage for the clients that you attract, and not just attract, but then retain them. So I think for us, you know, we have been very clear about our core values. We've done a lot of work to determine, you know, what are the things that mean the most to our business and to our community, right? Because again, like Scott said, that's the most important thing. And that's what's setting businesses apart now in the fitness industry. So I think, again, just being really clear on your core values and really outlining those. And then I even would go as far to say that, similar to how you might have like a target client avatar, sitting down and creating a staff avatar. So understanding what qualities does this person possess? Maybe even what qualities does this person not possess? And we've learned that from experience, right? The more you hire and the more you know, interact with your staff, you start to realize maybe what are those things. Now that's probably not going to be public facing, but just as, you know, a leadership team that, you know, things that you do and don't want. And then also kind of like what I was saying earlier, does this person have to be a rock star in person, virtually? Do they have to do it all? You know, really getting clear on that and outlining that very specifically. And the best part about that is when you're really clear about those qualities, you can use that to then shape your job postings. I think, you know, big brands like F45 do a really fantastic job too. So I am not above, you know, looking at those brands, looking at their career pages and seeing how they're positioning themselves, and not copying them, but taking what they're doing and figuring out how that applies to your small business as well.
Definitely, right? We can all learn from each other here. Brad, I'm gonna transition to you to kind of big part of employer branding is your careers page, right? Kind of the hub. Can you tell us a little more about how that works?
Absolutely. And you just heard Lauren and Scott talk about it, but the branding, oftentimes when you go to a careers page, and maybe some of you that aren't using CareerPlug that are on the call, what does your own careers page look like? Does it appropriately reflect your business and what you'd want an applicant to see and learn about your organization? You want to create an attractive, compelling careers page that motivates that quality applicant or quality candidate to actually apply. So oftentimes you'll see folks will just have a woo-foo form or generic form. It doesn't even tell anything about what it's like to work at that organization, as Lauren and Scott had touched on. So it's important to have a section or an area on your careers page where you're talking about the company culture. If you can have pictures, video, employee testimonials are oftentimes really great way to showcase from an employee themselves what it's like to work for your organization. Benefits themselves too. Oftentimes folks say, oh, well, for our entry-level positions, we don't necessarily have the best benefits. Well, maybe you do. You're just not thinking outside the box on that and exploring what really makes an employee excited to work at your organization. It may not be just traditional, I have health benefit, I have a 401k, etc. Oftentimes people do like to hear that they get a free gym membership. Are you having events on a monthly basis that's exciting and bringing your customers or members together? When I was with Golds, we'd have big closeout parties that everyone loved, the employees loved and the members loved. So that would be something to highlight to your potential applicants to showcase how great it is to work for your organization. And then of course, growth. Most folks don't want to just start in a role. They want to move forward and progress through a career. So the more you can show about what the growth path is within the organization, and maybe with franchise groups, like for Scott's group, maybe it's, hey, eventually you can potentially own your own studio, or maybe it's you can work your way up to being a studio manager. But showcasing that is really important as well. And there's two great stats there about how 77% of people would consider a company's culture before applying for a job there, and 56% of people ranked a strong workplace culture as more important than salary. So important things to call out as you're creating that careers page.
Great. And kind of the second level is job postings, right? And that we called out as a big opportunity with that view to apply rate for fitness.
Absolutely, and some of this touches on the same things. Now, luckily for when you're with CareerPlug, that every account comes with a careers page, and we motivate our clients to obviously activate that careers page and put it on their website. And the branding that ties to the careers page also ties to the job post itself. So everything that I just described there is important to have on the job post, because if people are applying off of one of the job boards, they maybe aren't going directly to your careers page. They're going to see directly to your post itself. And although we had a good example of Scott who uses us and what his job post looked like for, I think, assistant studio manager on a couple slides back. Again, it's important to highlight those same exact things in the job postings. And no matter who you're using, you have to have a mobile friendly application process, and careers page too. But within all industries, and this is on Indeed, they talk about how 75% apply on mobile device, but that includes industries that are more white collar, people sitting in desks, et cetera. That's 75%. Within the fitness industry, the last time I believe we looked into it, it was at 87% were applying on mobile device. So if you are taking your careers page form or your job post and you can't go on your phone and apply, you're missing out on majority of the folks. So it's really important to make sure you optimize that. And on a brief side note too, although if you work with an organization like CareerPlug and have a really attractive, compelling looking job post on certain job boards, they aren't going to be showing the branding. So like if you apply on Indeed, you just end up seeing a white background and the black writing. So it's important then to highlight the benefits and perks somewhere in your job description, so that folks that are finding your job on the different job boards that don't display the branding are also getting a sense of what it's like to work at your organization.
Yeah, great. And the one other thing I'll kind of call out for this slide that's on here, but sharing your COVID-19 response. As we talked about a little earlier in this presentation, everything that your customers care about right now are also things candidates are thinking about. So sharing up front, like how you're going to keep your employees safe is a good way to stand out right now to those top candidates.
And that perfectly goes to the next slide of your customers know you best. And we already talked quite a bit about this. but they obviously know your gym or your studio, your services. They're usually very passionate about your brand. And I talked about earlier how that's usually where you're going to find some of the best employees. If they're already passionate about your brand itself and health and fitness, what a great combination there. And so if you see those opportunities to connect with your customers or members and talk with them about any interest in potentially even just taking on classes. I know, again, I represent more of the traditional big box facility versus Lauren and Scott's studios. But we had obviously many positions. Some folks we would never consider for doing a membership sales, but for front desk or weekends where they love group exercise and they clearly know what they're doing within the group exercise class, those are the perfect folks to be able to approach. And again, they're already passionate about your organization. So it's good to get in front of them and have that conversation.
Exactly. And I'd love to get, Scott and Lauren's perspective on this as we talk about engaging with that community. Scott, how do you do that at F45 right now and get opportunities in front of your current community?
That's a great question. We've actually just been really, really fortunate with, the success of the workout that F45 has created. We have a lot of trainers that, you hear about us. There's been a little bit of buzz about us the last few years, and they'll be curious and they'll come take a class or two, or, a current trainer will bring in another trainer, and without a lot of work, they'll be like, hey, I would love to work here. This is an amazing workout. I love the variety of the different level of work exercises. And we've had a lot of success there. Where we've had a little bit more of a challenge is, your ASMs, your membership advisors, and your managers. And it's been in the same way that you would reach out to your client base and call them for referrals. Talking to your client base about, hey, who are some great people that you've interacted with in the fitness industry, and ask them for referrals. Make announcements before and after classes. That's been very, very successful for us, when we really just took it on as like, hey, we're trying to attract great people. We're always hiring superstars. So if you know of anyone, please send them our way, and that's been great.
Excellent. Lauren, how about you?
I think similarly to Scott, we are always hiring, even now in the midst of crazy COVID life. And actually we were chatting before we jumped on the call that you can look at COVID as being a really great opportunity because there's a lot of people that are fantastic, that are out of work, that may be looking for their next role, whether that's as an instructor or as a manager. So now actually is a really great time to be on the lookout. But for us, again, same thing with Scott, we chat with our clients all the time. We have a very intimate space and a really intimate community. So we're always talking about, what we're looking for. And we also keep a really open line of communication with our current instructors, and we encourage them. We have a referral bonus. So if they recommend someone and we hire and onboard them successfully onto the team, then that other staff member will get, they'll get compensated for that. So that's been really successful for us. But, to the last slide, I think we've learned that the best employees have been those that come from within our community, just because they know our brand, they know what we're all about. And so we're constantly on the lookout for clients who really stand out, who exemplify our values, who are really passionate about what we do. And I'm a firm believer that you can teach someone to teach or to be great at the front desk, but you can't teach someone to be a people person. So we're always on the lookout for those people.
Mm-hmm. Brad, anything you would add about how to engage with communities here?
Yeah, well, I think all the points that were made are great. And obviously, if you have a smaller member base or client base, you have more of an intimate relationship with your clients and members. So the opportunity to have those discussions may be a little bit easier, which is great. If you're a big box and you potentially have 5,000 members and a lot of folks are coming through your doors all the time, that's where you hope that your staff are engaging with the members as they're coming in. But that's where I touched on earlier, it's great if you are hiring to have a sign at the check-in, in the locker rooms, potentially have your group exercise people make announcements, or over the intercom. We used ClubCom as our music service, and we had TVs with some music videos and whatnot. We'd have it on there as well. And then, although this is not necessarily for your members directly, but you know, having it on your business cards, that's directing to the careers page. And obviously, if you're with CareerPlug, it's usually your business name.careerplug.com. So it'd be like a goldsgym.careerplug.com. So it's easy to tell people to go there as well when they're interested in potentially applying, because you don't want paper applications laying around, because Lord knows where they go and they get lost. So you want to make sure they're all going into one system so you can easily manage them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something I do myself when I hire for people at CareerPlug. I have our careers page and my email signature. And it comes up as we're talking about this. Obviously, we're not fitness, but Brad was a former client of ours before we had them, like he mentioned, and he's not the only one. Our current sales director was another former client. So even outside the fitness industry, it kind of works to hire from your current community. So last thing, I just want to drive this home. So we've already talked about the importance of time to contact, but to put this stat up again, that average almost 2 weeks, when you look at the top 20% in the industry, you know, the people who are doing the best, doing the soonest, it's usually an average of 1 day. And this kind of goes with this recent candidate experience survey we did, just trying to find out how do you create positive candidate experiences. And job seekers ranked, 30% of job seekers said it's most important how responsive someone is after they initially apply when they think about candidate experience. Communication is just, you know, top priority for so many people, and it goes a long way. I see that play out when I hire again and again. The more responsive you are, one, you're able to hire faster, right? You're closing that time to hire for yourself, get people up to speed and help your business. But people resonate a lot more with your brand. You become someone's top choice a lot faster with that extra communication. And what we were talking about earlier is kind of an opportunity, right? Just remembering, regardless of unemployment rate, there's a lot of really great people on the market right now, and great people are always going to have their pick of where to work. So you can't really, it's not a time to, you know, just sit back and wait because they're going to be flooded in. You really want to stay on top of that top talent.
You know, I think on a quick note on that too, I imagine if I'm a manager of facility and I'm getting inundated with all of these applicants at once, I would imagine, because we got a million tasks to go through. I'm not a recruiter as a facility manager or a studio manager. I wear many hats. That you know, sifting through resumes is not ideal. So whether you're using CareerPlug or any system, you have to have a way to easily identify then who those top candidates are. You know, if you're using CareerPlug, it's through scoring. Every applicant gets scored out of 100, but there should be a way to easily score those applicants so you can quickly identify, wait a second, I just got one of those gems, those diamonds in the rough, to quickly reach out to. And obviously, if you are using CareerPlug, there's additional benefits to have the system automatically identify them and then invite them to the next step as well. But I think part of the reason why the industry has a hard time quickly communicating with their applicants is because of everything that's going on within a facility and actually having the time to do it. So time savings to make hiring easier in those areas is a really huge advantage. And if you have multiple facilities, like Scott's got multiple, you're relying on managers to do that, then having a way to hold them accountable and to see how often they're checking their applicants and if they're moving them through the hiring process is really valuable as well.
Yeah, I could second that, Brad. We're currently, you know, in a hiring phase for a new studio, as well as, you know, just having a couple of events that have happened. We've needed to hire a studio manager. In the last 24 to 48 hours, you know, based on the fast track system that you guys have, we've been able to already have in 48 hours, you know, 4 really great interviews with potential applicants because we're able to get to them quickly and identify them. Even though there are, you know, potentially 50, 60 applicants in there, the top 4, we're able to be like, oh, those guys, we want to interview them for sure. So at least for us, it's been really great here in Las Vegas.
No, that's great to hear. It's just, you need systems, right? And it makes it much less of a burden to create a good experience on your end too, right? You're not trying to say, oh, we're creating positive experiences just for the candidates, which is very important, but it doesn't mean it's a negative experience for you. You just need to find the right systems and processes to make that happen, which is kind of one of my closing things here, just creating positive experiences. I like to share these 3 things. So it starts with that like communication level, but thinking about being easy to research, easy to apply, and then easy to track people through the process are kind of the pillars of creating really good experiences. So that's being visible and authentic, right? Everything we talked about with your careers page, your job posting, your employment brand, however you're putting that out there. Really streamlining that application. We talked about being mobile friendly, not having 80 application questions the first time they apply, right? If someone's doing it on their phone, they're probably gonna click away. A lot of opportunity to improve that conversion rate. And then easy to track, right? So communicate openly. That again, that's where the systems come in to make it easy for you to communicate with them. And then also, so you know where they are in the process and can shorten that time to hire and get moving on your end and back to business. So before we go to some Q&A here, because I think there's probably more we can dig out of each other, wanted to just give MindBody an opportunity if you're not familiar with them. Lauren, can you tell us a little about MindBody?
Sure. So MindBody is the leading technology platform for the wellness industry. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about working for the company is because we have an entire team, actually multiple teams of individuals that are dedicated to continued education for our customers. So it's really so much more than just a platform. And I personally can't imagine my life without MindBody. Again, systems, but it's a fantastic tool and it's really made such a huge difference in our business. But what I have here on this slide is just a couple of screenshots of some of those resources that we do have. So really there's so much more than just these few screenshots. We have a myriad of resources. We have business and software consultants, which I've personally really benefited from. We have an entire learning center with a bunch of learning paths on a variety of topics. I included just a screenshot of the staff management learning path, which I thought was really relevant. So that has some templates for hiring checklists, onboarding checklists, things like that. And it really just holistically walks through that whole process. And then we also have our resource hub, which we have blogs, guides, checklists, templates, a ton of different resources to help business owners. And then I have to shamelessly plug that we have our own webinar coming up that's called Leading Your Team Through Times of Change. And that's coming up on the 26th, and it's going to be at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And so if you're interested in signing up for that, I know that being a leader during this time is really difficult. And so hopefully this webinar will help a little bit. So you can just head to that link, mindbodyonline.com/business/education for all of those resources, as well as to sign up for the webinar.
Excellent. And we'll make sure we include that in our follow-up email as well, so they have that link on hand. And then if you don't know us, a little about us, Brad, you wanna share who CareerPlug is?
Sure, of course. And what great pictures of the employees up there. We've been around since 2007, you can see, and although we have over 10,000 clients, one client could have multiple locations. So I was looking recently in the fitness industry, which is one of the main industries that we focus on. And we have over 6,000 clubs and studios that use CareerPlug. So we're very pleased at how much success we've had within the fitness industry. And I can't even think of a platform that's second place to us, which is great. And so we love the success that we've had within the industry, and we really do a great job of helping studios, big box facilities, etc., with their recruiting and hiring needs. So if we go to the next slide, the way we do that is obviously by the right approach. We, as you can tell, probably from some of the things I was bringing up myself during the call, we have an opinionated approach to hiring that will help organizations implement best practices. Of course, the system itself, although we didn't show it on this call because we have folks that are clients and not clients as well, but we really do a phenomenal job of creating an easy, intuitive platform, because again, our average user is not a recruiting expert. It's a personal training manager that's running the department, or a studio manager, and an easy, intuitive, mobile-friendly system really is paramount. And then lastly, they need help, they need support. Our hiring experts really do a great job from an education standpoint, like webinars such as this. And we have great tools within the platform, from frequently asked questions, pre-recorded webinars, live webinars. So if there is any interest and you're not using CareerPlug currently, please feel free to go to careerplug.com and you can complete the demo link to find out more and see the system itself. For current members, if we've mentioned any, excuse me, current clients, I've gotten in the health club facility mode with saying members, but with our current clients, if you've heard anything mentioned on this call that you're not currently taking advantage of within CareerPlug, it comes with your account. So please feel free to reach out to support or success to find out more and have them help you with it. We'd love to help.
Thanks, Brad. So we have some time for questions to come in. So I can check if anything has come in here, but if you have a question, feel free to put it in the Q&A or the chat and we can answer that live. I'll start us off by prompting something I think you mentioned on a previous call. We were talking, Scott, about thinking about mapping the client journey, right? When you think about our fitness member journey and how you can really apply that when you think about candidates and hiring.
Sure. It's similar to thinking about it the way that Lauren was describing. Like, we spent all this time really developing an avatar for our the clients that we're looking for. We should do something similar with our with the staff that we want to attract. But then, you know, we think about the client experience from like the first phone call to them actually becoming a member, to them being a member for a long time. From a retention standpoint, if we put the same level of detail into the staff onboarding and the staff experience, you know, that like, and you guys talked about it a lot on this call as well. Like, you know, what are the phone calls like? What are those questions like? Are they clear? Are they concise? Are you not wasting a bunch of time with 80 questions? Because you're going to have people opt out. You know, what is that first interview like? Are you going to be, you know, we have a lot of questions come up about COVID right now. People want to know that if I'm going to come spend 8 hours a day in your facility, you're going to take care of me. And what is that experience like? Because in the same way that, you know, in the fitness industry, you know, like Lauren was saying, like they're coming to see us 3 and 4 times a week, but with an employee, it's really is their second home. And sometimes they're spending almost as much time in your facility as they are at home, potentially. So they want to know that the experience is going to be good, and you can show them that and have them experience that if you really put in some time and thought process into this staff onboarding experience, or even just interview process. Because even if you don't hire someone, it's our belief that if you still deliver value and you still treat them with respect, that they'll go off and think positively of your company, and that's going to be great for everyone.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott. A couple questions coming in. So one, can you speak to the balance within the hiring process between an applicant's personality versus their level of experience? Lauren, I'm going to hand that to you first.
Well, I love this question because I think it's fantastic. I do think that when we started our business, it was all about experience, right? We wanted the best trainers on paper, the people that had years of experience under their belts. Now we've transitioned. One of our sort of rules that we live by and hire by is we want to hire someone that we would go have coffee with without like we would want to hang out with them outside of our studio. Kind of to my point, what I said earlier, I do think, you know, you can't teach personality, but you can teach someone how to be a better trainer. And in our experience, right, the way that we bring people in is, say it's a client that we have that we really think would be a fabulous instructor. We'll talk with them. We'll, you know, go through that process. We'll tell them, you know, we do need you to have a certification. Once you get that certification to be a group fitness instructor or personal trainer, whatever makes more sense for them and what they want their career to look like with us, we'll put them through our own instructor training. And that's really just making sure that they're really familiar with our style and our culture and just really massaging that into them. And what I've found is that those sort of the people that don't necessarily have as much experience are really excited to learn. They are much more moldable in the sense that they're not coming to you with 15 years of experience. They're very stuck in their ways and this is the way they do it and that's how they want to do it. Not to say that those people can't necessarily, adapt, but I also think it depends on the position too. I'm speaking just specifically to instructors or even, front desk staff. So I think it depends, but for us, we definitely go off personality more than experience.
Great. Scott, do you have anything to add on that question?
Well, yeah, I would just add, like, this is why it's great to potentially find people that are already a member or a client of your facility, because there's buy-in. They're there because they love the culture, they love the environment, and like Lauren said, if there's someone that you really want to maybe go have coffee with, is this a person you want to interact with the rest of your staff and the rest of your clients? And if it's a yes across the board, then, and they're willing to learn and they're eager to learn, they're great potentials for hires. And at F45, obviously, globally, we've been disrupting the industry quite a bit. And obviously because we're doing things slightly differently. And I would second what Lauren says. Like, it's great to have people that have 10 and 15 and 20 years experience, but we've had a lot of success with people that are just young and eager and have a great personality, and they're really willing and open to learn something new. So don't be afraid to hire those people and give them a shot if they're really willing to work hard.
Exactly. Thank you. This next question, Brad, I'm going to direct it to you. So someone asked, what are some examples of clients that used to use Indeed or another job board and then are now with CareerPlug? What should we expect to see? Could you kind of clarify that?
Sure, great question. And I will say that CareerPlug, we love Indeed. They're the #1 job board. We're actually one of the very few star partners that Indeed highlights. They have maybe about 10 systems, recruiting systems, that Indeed highlights as star partners out of the sea of systems out there. And CareerPlug, we're very proud to be one of them. So using CareerPlug doesn't mean that you're leaving Indeed. They are the #1 job board. What's neat about using CareerPlug, and Scott knows about this himself from using CareerPlug, when you post a job or an unlimited number of jobs within CareerPlug, they automatically show up on your careers page that we talked about earlier for your website. It shows up on Indeed, Facebook Jobs, ZipRecruiter, Google, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and all of those job boards you've never heard of before, like Way Up, CareerJet, Job Show, sites like that. So a lot of great exposure. The important ones obviously are like Indeed and ZipRecruiter. So the ease is the important thing, right? If you're currently manually posting on Indeed, and then you're going on to Facebook, and then you're doing a separate post, every time an applicant's coming through, you're getting them by a different means. You don't have a careers page. They're filling out a piece of paper at your front desk, for example. It makes things difficult to stay organized and having all applicants in one spot. So the ease of use of not only getting a lot of exposure, so you can get a lot more quality applicants because you're on every major job board, is a big difference of what someone would see when they use CareerPlug, along with a lot of the organization that we were alluding to during today's call. And I would say too, I'm sure you have more questions on it as well. We would love to talk to you more if you would like to have time. Seeing the platform too really makes a great difference. So careerplug.com, and then there's an area to have a demo, and then we'd be happy to have someone on our team meet. And it looks like we have some more questions.
We do. So this one, I'm going to give to you, Brad. The post to Indeed, is it in the free version or the paid version of CareerPlug?
That's a great question. So you have the organic feed, and that's where your jobs show up automatically. You could refer to it as the free. Within our platform, you also have the ability, if you need to boost a job further or sponsor a job on Indeed. It's standard Indeed rates, so we're not like taking a piece or increasing the rate or anything like that. We just, through our partnership with Indeed, want to make it very easy for one of our clients to decide, hey, I want to boost this job further and sponsor it, and let me put behind whatever the standard Indeed rates are to boost that further. I will say, well, we also have a relationship with ZipRecruiter as well. When clients first start using CareerPlug, they have the ability for the first 30 days to have it boosted on ZipRecruiter for free as well. A normal behavior when a client comes on board and the account goes through the implementation process to get set up and configured, we advise our clients to post and see what type of applicant flow you're getting from the different job boards, and then determine if and when you need to put more money behind a job. Because what oftentimes people will see is, because you have an attractive, compelling job post that takes 2 to 3 minutes to apply and is completely mobile friendly, and on every major job board, you're probably going to get 3 to 5 times the number of quality applicants that you were getting before. So oftentimes, why people spend money and manually post all these different job boards is because they're not getting enough through their own current application process. That's maybe forcing an applicant to create a login and a profile and then go through a 15-minute application process. Or maybe they're just, again, they don't have exposure on the different job boards. But I bet you Scott could even give his 2 cents on what he's seen. And he mentioned that earlier on when he started using CareerPlug, what he saw from an applicant flow standpoint.
Yeah, I could easily speak to that. Just based on what we were spending on average on Indeed on a monthly basis, we always budgeted, about $150 or more to be able to boost certain things. And just working with CareerPlug, we obviously were spending less, and I would say the quality of candidate and the number of candidates jumped by 50%. And then obviously us having a shift of like really getting back to them very quickly, we were able to. Our entire experience up to that point was sort of bad. I didn't even like Indeed, to be honest. But now, using CareerPlug, I really appreciate Indeed and all the other job posting abilities you have, because it's just hitting all of them. If you wanted to post on, all of these different job boards, and you were going to actually spend a little bit of money on all of them, financially, you'd probably get great applicants, but from a cost-effective standpoint, I would say CareerPlug's, definitely changed the game for us, and be able to get top quality candidates and, and not break the bank doing so.
Excellent. We probably have time for just one more question here. So next one I got was, how do you create a job description or job posting that incorporates company culture, values, COVID response without getting too lengthy? Which is a great question. I'm going to give my shot at a first answer, then I'll ask for other thoughts. First thing I see is that people include way too many responsibilities in that initial post on a job board or your careers page. You don't need to include like 20 responsibilities, all the minutia of the job there. Stick it to like, what are the top 3 to 5 things that this person needs to do? How are they going to contribute? It's almost too much to read, right? You see job postings with like 20 bullet points. That's overwhelming for anyone. So that'd be my first tip of, how to condense your job post. You can include those other important things. But Scott, Lauren, or Brad, feel free to jump in if you have other suggestions.
The only thing I would say is that I don't necessarily think that you need to specifically speak to your company culture. I think the verbiage that you use will sort of speak to that for you. I also think your values, those will speak to that as well. And I am a big fan of bullet points. I don't know if that's like best practice. Natalie, you'd probably know better than I, but for me, that's the easiest to read. I would just kind of keep things pretty concise, and be particular about the language that you use, and be true to your brand too. If you're, really playful and it's fun and you want your work environment to be casual, and I'm just using that as an example, you can showcase that through the language that you're using. If you want it to be a little bit more, of a professional and serious environment, maybe your language feels a little bit more structured. So that's the only thing I would add.
I've just my quick 2 cents on that, and there's a lot that I could unpack there, and I could talk for 30 minutes on it, and I won't, because I know we're running out of time. But that's a really great question. it's important to note that certain things, if you're like, hey, I feel like we have to have this as a requirement, if it's too lengthy, no one reads it, right? As the point was made. So that should be an application question because they're forced to answer those questions. So whatever's imperative for you to get out, or hey, they have to have this experience or X many years within the industry, or whatever you're asking, that should be an application question, which means you don't have to explain it quite as much in the description portion. And I know sometimes you say, well, let's make it really short. You always have to keep in mind too that the job boards use algorithms based on the words that are in the job description. So you don't want to have it just 2 sentences or something really short. It's got to have the right types of words in there. But the other thing too is a job description on certain job boards are going to look different as well as what's on your careers page. So highlighting those benefits in separate sections that are attractive on your careers page, it can easily be done, or on a job post can be easily done, versus a flat looking post that potentially is on Indeed or sites like that. And then lastly, actively hiring during COVID-19 is something that can be flagged on sites like ZipRecruiter and others. So that's usually a good way to be able to call attention to that. But if you are doing anything special regarding your employees' practices, that's probably something that an employee or a potential employer or an applicant would love to read in that job description. And that's usually top of mind for a lot of folks right now is it a safe place to work at?
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna hold us to time. I know we're going over already. If we didn't get to your question, I'm going to send this recording, the deck, some follow-up resources. Feel free to reply to me directly with any questions and I will get back to you. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Brad, Lauren, Scott. I think this was a really meaningful discussion, so I appreciate your time today. All right, bye everyone.